Sister. I'm bored. Chad's broad and strong arms embraced me from behind. My body stiffened for a second. Let's break up. Sister. I couldn't believe it and turned my head to look at him. Now? Chad let go of me, lay back on the big bed, and raised his sword-like eyebrows as bright as starlight. Leave tomorrow. I don't have time to see you off right now. Okay. Let's go to sleep first. In the dark. Chad's even breathing sounded beside me. I let out a sigh of relief, thankfully. Feeling light all over. Finally. This unrealistic relationship was over. It was almost dawn. I moved my body a little, and was pulled into a burning hot embrace. And a big palm slipped down to my waist. Next. What are your plans? I stroked my forehead. I'll think about it when I get home. When I left, Chad still had half of his face buried in the snow-white pillow. Really broken up? My good friend Cherry rushed to my home immediately. Looking completely incredulous. Cherry took out her mobile phone. And I knew what she was going to do. I held her hand that was about to call Chad to question him. Cherry was not only my good friend but also Chad's cousin. Really broken up? For sure. There's no need to confirm it again. Cherry frowned. Who proposed it? It must be you. Do you think he is younger than you and immature? Come on. He is in charge of such a large company now. How could he be immature? I shrugged. Very relaxed. Wrong. He proposed it. Unexpected. Right? Cherry looked astonished. Clearly not believing it. What? How could he propose to break up? Why not? You know. In terms of feelings, men and women are never on the same frequency. Women fall in love over a long time, while men get bored more easily as time goes by. Once the novelty wears off, they think it's boring. Cherry looked stunned. How can you be so open-minded? Because there would be no result between him and me anyway. First, my family is okay, but his family is too powerful. Second, there really is a generation gap, for every 3-year age difference. I'm still not quite used to this age combination. To tell you the truth, if he hadn't proposed, I would have. Cherry seemed to be shocked, and the corner of her mouth twitched. Forget it. Your mind has always been rational. I was just worrying for nothing. However, anyway, you are my friend. Chad. That brat. Dares to dump you. I have to seek justice for you. Cherry immediately called Chad. Yes? His voice was low on the other end. I picked up a banana nearby, peeled it, and took a bite. What do I call for? Don't you know? Why did you break up with Sally? You know already? Don't change the topic. What's the reason for the breakup? I'm in a meeting right now. Let's talk later. He had already hung up the phone on the other end. Brat. Dared to hang up on me. I got up and went to the bathroom to find the pain-relieving spray. I had accidentally bitten my tongue just now. It was completely unexpected to me that Chad was more indifferent than I was. I met Chad when I was a tutor during the summer vacation of my junior year. He was a rich second generation with a villa and a helipad at home. He had a naughty temperament. Before I went for the interview, he had already driven away 3 tutors. On the first day when I went for the interview, I arrived at 9 o'clock and waited until 12 o'clock. But he was still sleeping soundly in bed. The butler gave me the phone and signaled me to answer it. Today's tutor? There was still a strong nasal sound on the other end. Are you up? I took a deep breath. Let the butler bring you in. It was a full-fledged commanding order. The butler led me to the door. Sally. This is the young master's room. I knocked twice on the door. But there was no response. I pushed the door open gently. As soon as I saw the inside, I was about to retreat hurriedly, but was pulled in by a force. Since you've seen it all, why are you still hiding? Sister? He was bare-chested and pressed my hand against the wall. He claimed to be a high school student, but he was much taller than me. I'll wait for you outside. I calmed down my mood, showed the air of being a few years older than him, pushed him away. and retreated again. There was still his scornful laughter behind me. I clenched my fist feebly. Humph. Brat. For the sake of money. I endured it. 3 in the study. During the half-hour trial class. He was absent-minded and played with his mobile phone with his head down all the time. It's probably hopeless. Sally. How was it? You better find someone else. I was also fuming inside. It's her. Come to class tomorrow. I don't know when he came out of the study and lazily went upstairs. Great. Sally. Please come to class on time tomorrow. Well. Okay. At first, I thought that I was chosen by him because of some kind of personal charm. Every day, I worked very hard to prepare the tutoring materials. As it turned out, I was overthinking. After a month of tutoring, he didn't listen attentively for a single day. I couldn't bear it anymore and closed the book. You're not interested in what I'm teaching. Why do you still keep me? He ignored me and continued playing games. Although the money is a lot, I feel guilty for earning it. Every time his mother asked me if he had made progress, I didn't dare to look into her eyes. I packed up my textbooks and was about to quit. When I was about to leave, a long leg stretched out and blocked my feet. Are you angry? I turned my head. Finally. He put down his phone and was willing to raise his eyes to look at me seriously. I glanced at the still flashing phone screen on the table. Don't dare. Keep playing your game. I won't come again in the future. His foot didn't move away. And he stared at me stubbornly. I was stunned for a moment. King Yu. Miss Sue. I'll bring you some fruits. At the door, Mrs. Chen knocked and came in. Just in time to see the scene of our standoff. She was stunned. What's going on? I was determined to leave. Mrs. Chen. I'm sorry. Add 500 per hour for her. I made progress in the last monthly exam. I looked at him completely puzzled. Is it also progress from 10 points to 12 points? I really should thank him for copying the introduction of the composition once. Really? Mrs. Chen's eyes wide and in surprise. Yes. Good. Add it immediately. Start calculating from this class. I was too embarrassed to mention quitting again and reluctantly stayed. 4 later. I couldn't figure it out no matter what. How did he become interested in me? Was it at the ball game? I stood on the side of my senior in the same department to cheer for him. He gave me a cold look and showed off his ball-playing skills vigorously to prove himself. Was it after tutoring him for a month? He never listened to me. I took the money with a guilty conscience and couldn't bear it in my heart. So I closed the book and quit? Or was it during the tutoring? He was in puberty. Locked in a study room together. The opposite sexes attracted each other. That day, I had an afternoon tea with my roommate Cherry. Suddenly, she patted me on the shoulder and pointed in a direction. Good job. You don't make a move easily. But once you do, you take all. This little wolf has been looking at your back several times. I turned my head. By the window, Chad and his several ball-playing friends were having iced drinks here. And this tutoring job was also introduced to me by Cherry. I turned my head back and calmly wiped the water droplets on the cup. After all, you are his sister. Don't make such jokes randomly. Actually, I didn't dare to admit that later in the tutoring. This kid did become much more obedient. I also sensed something abnormal and ended this tutoring job in time. The way he looks at you is not right. This little wolf is doomed. I was about to pack up my things and leave. One step too late. Chad came over. This guy is extremely tall and handsome. As he moved, he attracted a lot of attention towards us. Cherry gave him a white-eyed look. Still recognize your big sister? Willing to come over and say hello? He sat down on the sofa on Cherry's side. Put his long legs down. But whether intentionally or not, he touched the tip of my foot. I shivered all over, avoiding his deep black eyes. I was speechless. How could a little kid have such an aura? Are you free next Tuesday? Cherry seemed to have seen something and looked like she was enjoying the show, asking me or Ms. Sue, your tutor? It's my birthday next week. I've booked a place in Austin. Come together. I politely declined first and looked at Cherry. You go. I have an elective course that night. He played with a glass of Coke in his hand and raised his deep eyes under his tousled hair. Is that so? I looked at Cherry for help, afraid that this girl would play tricks again. Cherry looked regretful. Alas. Then only I can come. Well, I'll bring Ms. Sue's gift to you. Chad got up and went back to his seat. Before leaving, he also threw out a sentence: if you're not feeling well, don't drink cold drinks. I was stunned. I was drinking an iced Americano, and my period had just ended. Cherry took a big sip of her hot milk tea and shouted, "Oh no. Oh no. My naughty little brother is going to become your devoted puppy." On the night of his birthday, I received a message from him. Why is there no gift? It was sent at 2 in the morning. Before dawn. I sent him a reply. Study hard. Wish you success. And then I blocked him. Half a month later, I went to a middle school in another city for an internship. Later, I heard from Cherry that Chad had gone abroad. Still later, Cherry was busy with her love life and never mentioned him again. It wasn't until 5 years later that there was a commotion at the company entrance. A colleague came over excitedly. "Sally, there's a handsome guy looking for you outside the door. Hurry up and go out." I went out, and was dumbfounded. A young man in a suit with an air of determination stood in the sunset. Already a business elite within reach of the stars. Under a flurry of astonished gazes, he walked towards me. Long time no see. My dull heart beat rapidly for once. Rarely. Steak. Red wine. A big bed. Half awake and half dazed. I let myself go. Everything was in perfect harmony. And he was also impeccably gentle. It was unimaginable that the cold-faced and serious-looking boss at the company was such a passionate man at home. Before Chad said he wanted to break up, I hadn't seen any signs. But it was so sudden. Besides a little discomfort, I accepted it calmly. 6 blind date? Cherry screamed on the other end of the phone. I looked down at the information of the male executive in my hand. Well, don't be too surprised. I'm already 28 years old. While I still have my advantages, it's not surprising to find a high-quality man to marry. Actually, the reason I was going on a blind date was because my mother at home was pushing me too hard. Since it was impossible to be single all my life, it was better to find a high-quality man to marry as soon as possible. Okay. That makes sense. Sister, I support you. We must find a better one so that those men who don't cherish you have no chance to regret it. Cherry was still angry about Chad taking the initiative to break up with me. Okay. Hang up. I'm leaving. Send me the address. When I'm done, I'll come over and give you some advice. 7. As expected. The man my mother had carefully selected for me for the blind date was not only good-looking but also gentlemanly and humorous. When we were having a great time chatting, I don't know if it was a coincidence or something, but Chad actually came to this coffee shop too. He seemed to come in to take a short break. After sitting at a table on the side, he asked his assistant to order a cup of coffee for him. And then he kept staring at his laptop and dealing with business affairs. It must be my wild imagination. I immediately withdrew my gaze. It is said that English majors are beautiful. Now that I see you today, it is indeed true. Praised as beautiful by my blind date. I was in a very good mood and was not stingy with praise in return, not at all. Mr. Lin is the really handsome one. I've seen a lot of handsome guys, but it's the first time I've seen someone as handsome as Mr. Lin. I can see that. You are not only beautiful but also sweet-hearted. Such a wonderful girl. I'm so lucky to meet you on a blind date. There's a question. I don't know if it can be answered. Sorry. I'm really curious. Please go ahead. If it's convenient, I will definitely answer it. At our first meeting. I have a great liking for you. I'm really curious. How did you break up in your last relationship? If it's inconvenient. We don't need to talk about it. I glanced in Chad's direction and calmly said, it's not inconvenient. Actually, I was so addicted to work before that I didn't have a relationship. Chad suddenly coughed. I looked over. And his assistant immediately said, Mr. Chen, is the coffee too hot? Chad had a straight face. It's too bitter. Add some sugar. However, even though he was so close, he didn't look at me once throughout the process. After all, he used to call me baby before. I withdrew my gaze boredly. The blind date was stunned for a moment. And then, as if he had figured something out, he smiled and said, right. With your conditions. If you were in a relationship, you would have been married and cherished long ago. Why would you still be waiting until now? Well, we don't have WeChat yet. How about adding WeChat? I immediately agreed, sure. With brisk steps. I only saw the back of his assistant hurrying to keep up. When we were scanning WeChat, Chad happened to be walking past our table with his laptop in hand. In the evening, Cherry's call came in. How was the blind date? Are you satisfied? I'm sorry. I was too busy this afternoon and couldn't get away. I muted the TV. It's okay. His height, appearance and income are all quite excellent. I can give it a try. He also seems interested in me. It was a bit noisy on the other end of the phone. She should be in a bar. You are satisfied with his height, appearance and income. Have you decided to start a relationship? Cherry suddenly shouted at the other end of the phone as if she was afraid that others couldn't hear. Lower your voice. My ears are going to be deaf. It's just that I'm in a bar and it's a bit noisy. I'm afraid you can't hear me. Immediately, I heard the sound of vomiting over there. Did you vomit? It's not me. It's a heartless man getting his comeuppance. A heartless man? Damn it. Why did you vomit on me? Let's stop talking for now. Cherry, who was still smiling just now, hung up the phone angrily. In summer, the air was restless. I woke up in the middle of my sleep and couldn't fall asleep again. I took out my mobile phone, scrolled through my WeChat moments, and finally couldn't help but click on Chad's Qzone. It was still that cold-looking profile picture. I clicked into his Qzone again. There was no post at all. I threw my phone aside. Great. We broke up and he didn't seem to feel a thing. 9 Blind dating is a normal thing. But if your ex-boyfriend's mother is also eager to introduce a blind date partner to you, that's very abnormal. This actually happened to me. I heard that after Chad and I broke up and I was on a blind date. Chad's mother, Mrs. Chen, actually called me to her home and wanted to introduce Chad's cousin, who is a captain, to me. Are you crazy? I secretly pinched Cherry's flesh. I was completely tricked into coming here. Early in the morning, Cherry sent a driver to pick me up, saying that she wanted to introduce someone to me. As a result, the driver drove the car to Chad's home. It was Mrs. Chen who wanted to introduce someone to me. I was completely dumbfounded. This is not my fault. As soon as my aunt heard that you were on a blind date, she said that the fat water should not flow into outsiders' fields and wanted to introduce the best to you. Let me tell you, my aunt knew about your breakup. She blamed Chad for 2 days. My aunt really likes you. Even though you broke up, she still wants to find you a good family that she can trust. Even TV dramas wouldn't dare to act like this. I felt like sitting on pins and needles. I looked around. The bedroom doors upstairs were all closed. Fortunately, Chen Qingyu was not at home. I didn't expect my aunt to be so reliable either. Here, I was already very familiar with it. I had come here for tutoring before and had been here twice with Chad in the past half year. To my surprise, Mrs. Chen had never thought that my family background was not good enough for the Chen family. When I came to the Chen family as Chad's girlfriend, she even gave me a big red envelope. Only I was embarrassed all the time, changing from a tutor to a girlfriend. What an awkward identity. 10 Mrs. Chen brought up a plate of fruit. If Cherry hadn't told me that you broke up, I wouldn't have known. This rascal really doesn't know how to cherish. It makes me so angry. Mrs. Chen forked a piece of fruit for me and put it in my hand. I was really flattered. Thank you, Auntie. Actually, we were really not suitable for each other. Breaking up early is good for everyone. At this time, there was the sound of a car outside again. Mrs. Chen walked towards the door. He's here. Soon. A man still in the captain's uniform walked in. His posture was very upright. I was stunned for a moment. The Chen family has really good genes. In a blink of an eye, the man had already brought a champagne rose to me. Smiling gently. Sorry. There was a traffic jam on the road. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. I bought a small bunch of flowers as an apology. Is that okay? It's all right. He handed over the flowers, and I took them out of politeness. Cherry was observing us gleefully. She nudged my arm. Handsome. Not worse than that jerk. After saying that, Cherry glanced upstairs. What are you looking at? Cherry immediately withdrew her gaze, her eyes bright, and dragged me towards the dining room. Nothing. Nothing. Let's go. It's time to eat. On the revolving table, the delicate dishes were arranged in an orderly manner. Mrs. Chen greeted us. I made all of these. Everyone. Quickly taste my cooking skills. 17 halfway through the meal. Suddenly there was a violent coughing sound from the bedroom upstairs. I almost choked. Was there someone else at home? Is King Yu at home? Ian was the first to turn his head and ask. Chad? Huff. I choked. Are you all right? Cherry patted my back guiltily. But she didn't dare to look at me. As soon as I entered the room, she patted her chest and said quickly, come down for dinner. Chad had gone to the company and wouldn't be back during the day. Mrs. Chen said, Sister Yang, go upstairs and have a look. Tell him that we are having dinner. If he is hungry. Just as Mrs. Chen finished speaking, the door of the bedroom on the second floor opened, and a tall and slender figure walked out. It was Chad. Even from a distance, one could see that his face was as pale as a sick white horse prince. There was no need to be told. He had already come down. As if under a spell, he walked over and stood beside our dining table, pursing his lips without saying a word, obviously very sick and weak. But his eyes alone were sharp, like a blade. When they fell on me, it seemed that he wanted to devour me. I was so embarrassed that I scratched my face and looked out of the window. Rarely. Mrs. Chen got angry and banged her chopsticks heavily. Are you going to eat? If you are, sit down. Standing there like a god of plague, there was a strong sense of disappointment in her tone. Chad pulled out a chair and sat down, his nasal voice thick. Great. I was almost burning up upstairs while you were chatting and laughing downstairs without even sending me a glass of water. Mrs. Chen took over the conversation. How capable you are. You can make any decision without saying a word. I was stunned for a while. Do you still need someone to bring you water? Chad's thin lips were tightly pursed at this moment. He didn't say a word. Sorry, brother. We forgot that you drank too much last night and were still at home. Here. Water. Cherry immediately poured a glass of water and handed it over. His cousin also showed concern. It's rare to see you drink so much. Humph. He was so drunk that he vomited all over Cherry. When he came back, he vomited all over the house too. Those who don't know might think that he was dumped. Those who know, well, it was he who dumped. I rubbed my forehead. Mrs. Chen was too fierce today. But I was still very surprised that it was Chad who vomited in the bar last night. During the 6 months we were together, he hardly drank alcohol and had never been so rude. Mrs. Chen arranged again. Eat quickly. After eating, Ian will take Izzy out for shopping and have a good chat. I think you two are a perfect match. Very well matched. Sure. Ian agreed immediately and then smilingly picked up a piece of meat and put it in my bowl. Eat some meat. Don't just eat vegetables all the time. Thank you. I picked up the piece of meat with a bit of fat in my bowl and took a bite. Just as I swallowed it, Chad's blade-like eyes shot over. I narrowed my eyes. What did this look mean? Was he very unhappy in his heart? Sensing Chad's unhappiness, I simply ate more vigorously and picked up the remaining half piece and ate it. Take it away. The meat is cold. Chad's face turned pale. He tasted a piece and surprisingly had the meat removed. 12 after lunch. Chad didn't go upstairs. He stretched his long legs and curled up on the sofa, coughing a few times from time to time until his face turned red. He was like an injured wolf. Have you got a cold? Cherry asked with concern. Chad glanced at her and ignored her. Only at this time did I remember that at the dinner table just now, he said that he was burning up and no one brought him water. But at that time no one paid attention. Are you not feeling well? I asked with concern. Yes. He nodded rarely and grunted. Cherry was stunned. I casually said, go to the hospital. It won't get better if you keep delaying. He glanced in the direction where Ian was answering the phone and suddenly snorted. I wonder if you will cry for me if I die of illness. Heartless woman. 13. Something was left in my room. Go and get it. Chad got up and went upstairs. His body was very hot. As he walked past me, I felt like a fire was passing by. What is it? Go upstairs and see for yourself. This person didn't make it clear, and just left me there. I didn't remember leaving anything there and also planned to draw a clear line with him. So I didn't plan to go upstairs. A few minutes later, a message came in with a photo of my diary. I immediately became restless. I had been looking for my diary all this time, and it was actually in his room. Just in time, Cherry brought a box of cough medicine and asked me to take it upstairs. She had something to do in the company and had to go there immediately. Ian was still outside answering the phone. Bang. As soon as I knocked on the door and it opened, I was pulled into the darkness. The door closed with a clang. I was about to speak when a hot body covered me and blocked my lips. The familiar touch. I tried my best to push away, but was bitten as a punishment instead. And in return, there was a more intense kiss. Bang. Bang. Suddenly, the door I was leaning against was knocked twice. Is Sally inside? It was Ian's voice. Chad still continued his actions, and I was so nervous that my nerves tensed up. Before Cherry left, she said Sally brought you medicine up. Ian was also patiently waiting at the door. I was going crazy. Finally, Chad rationally let go of my lips and said in a low, magnetic voice, yes. She is helping me heat a towel in the bathroom right now. I thought I could get out. But then my forehead was pressed against again. Just after the breakup. You go on a blind date. What am I after all? The light was not on inside. At this moment, I couldn't see Chad's expression clearly. I could only feel the strong sense of loss in his tone. And his slightly heavy breathing. Okay. I'll wait for her at the door. My mind went blank for a second. But what was he up to this time? He was the one who broke up. I lowered my voice. Don't you forget? It was you who proposed the breakup, not me. Also, what do you mean now? I'm on a blind date. Are you being respectful by doing this? The air was silent. I turned on the light, put the medicine aside, and said in a detached way, you have a fever. Take the medicine and have a rest. I tittied myself up and turned around to leave. The one who proposed the breakup was me. But the one who really wanted to break up was you. My hand on the doorknob seemed to freeze. How did he know? I turned around. He had his back to me. His side profile showed a loneliness that didn't belong to his age. It's unnecessary to discuss this now. Since we've broken up, let's part on good terms. After saying that, I opened the door and came out. Ayun was right at the door. Sorry. He has a fever. I heated a towel for him. I tried my best to speak steadily without showing any flaws. Yeah. It's okay. It's just that you've been through a lot. Let's go. How about we take a walk in the art gallery? My friend just gave me 2 tickets. Sure. Ayun and I went downstairs. Vaguely, we could still hear the coughing upstairs. 14 in the evening. Ayun sent me back. Aren't you going to invite me to sit upstairs? It's getting late today. You should also go back and have a rest. How about I treat you to coffee some other day? All right. After sending Ian away, I breathed a sigh of relief. No matter how nice Ian was, it was impossible for him and me. I couldn't have another relationship with my ex-boyfriend's cousin. When the elevator door opened, I saw a person lying down in front of my door. Chad had fallen asleep leaning against my door. His handsome face was extremely pale. When I took out my key to open the door, he woke up and grabbed my cuff. Sister, do you still want me? His eyes were red. For a moment, he made me feel like a pitiful pug. I took a deep breath. Don't be so clingy after the breakup. In my life, what I dislike the most is going back on my steps. After saying this firmly, I opened the door and went in. At the door, he got up but didn't leave. He murmured in a low voice, but from the beginning to the end, you are the only one I like. Sorry. I'm going to rest. You should leave quickly. I went to close the door. He fell straight onto me. Chad? There was no response from him. I touched his forehead. It was burning hot. The fever hadn't subsided at all. Instead, it got worse. At the same time, my phone rang. It showed Mrs. Chen. Auntie. Sizzy. Have you seen King-yu? As soon as you two left, he also went out. He has a high fever of 40 degrees and still went out. I'm very worried. I was stunned for a moment. Could it be that he had been waiting here since this afternoon until now? Auntie. He is here with me. Send your driver to pick him up. At your place? Then I can rest assured. Sizzy. Could you take care of him tonight? Actually, I've noticed for a long time that he listens to you the most. At home, he hasn't taken a single pill of the medicine prescribed by the doctor. I didn't know what to say and said bravely, then let the driver come to pick him up tomorrow. With great effort, I helped the tall figure onto the bed and found the fever-reducing medicine at home. After feeding him the medicine, I turned around to leave. But my hand was grabbed. Don't go. A very weak voice. After all, I couldn't bear it and sat down to keep him company. I won't go. We had been together for half a year. He didn't trouble me much during that time. But after the breakup, he really made me exhausted. Every 20 minutes, I changed a towel for him. And every half an hour, I wiped the sweat off his body. It was really strange that he got himself drunk and had a fever. It was almost dawn. My eyelids were fighting, and I fell asleep leaning against the edge of the bed. 15 I slept until noon. I turned over and landed on a chest. I opened my eyes lazily and was stunned for a moment. A handsome face was smiling slightly. And his lips also came down. Sister. Are you awake? My body froze for a second. Chad always kisses very gently whenever he calls me sister, making people can't help but fall for it. I don't know how this young guy has such excellent kissing skills. I came to my senses and immediately pushed him away. Don't touch me. Chad immediately looked like a child who had done something wrong, looking at me with innocent eyes. You can leave. I didn't fall for his trick, and threw off the quilt and got up. When I got out of bed, he also got out of bed. And he even walked around the head of the bed and pushed me back onto the bed again. The innocent look in his eyes just now had become frightening. Before, I had noticed that Chad's eyes could be like a fierce wolf or obedient puppy. He could switch between the two freely. What are you going to do? Chad. We've broken up. Don't overstep the line. If I leave, you can go on a date with other men? You are mine. No one can take you away from me. I turned my head away, not wanting to talk to him anymore. Chad. Why do you always forget that it was you who let go first? He lay on top of me, a little dejected. Sister. They are not suitable for you. I rolled my eyes. Clearly. Those people are excellent in all aspects and also witty and humorous. Why are they not suitable? I'm a man, and I know men best. They are excellent, no doubt. But deep down, they are male chauvinists. His lips slowly moved to my ear. Only I can be a wolf dog outside to protect you. Sister. And be a puppy at home for you. Sister. Buzz. My cell phone rang. I picked it up. It was my mother calling. Mom? Sizzy. Guess who came to our house? Who? Leo. He said he came to pay a visit and brought a lot of things. Come back quickly. My mind went blank for a moment. What? Why did he go there? Just after I said that, I noticed that Chad was staring straight at me and listening to my phone call as well. What are you talking about? It shows that he is polite and very satisfied with you. You should be content. This boy is excellent in all aspects and very sincere. I think you two are very suitable. I took a look at Chad. Then you entertain him first. I'm coming back now. Chad let go of me and sat aside. I didn't know what to say either. I opened the wardrobe and started changing clothes. I still have a fever. I clenched my clothes. Go back. Chad. We are over. You are right. Even if you didn't break up. I was going to mention it. The reason? Because we are not suitable. We are not from the same world. Not from the same world? Which world are you from then? Let me tell you. You are in the world of lack of self-confidence. Because your parents got divorced before. You don't trust our relationship either. Even. You would rather find someone whom you don't love but is just suitable to get married. In this way. Even if you break up later. You won't be in pain. Right? I looked at him in disbelief. How did he know all this? I hadn't told him about my parents. Cherry was someone I met in college. My parents got divorced early, so she didn't know about these things either. I investigated it on my own. Because I can't feel your sincerity. You are like a flower with thorns. Beautiful but heartless. I wonder why. Why is the person who has occupied my whole heart for 5 years so nonchalant? His words, like a sharp sword, cut me open, exposing all the secrets I had been trying to hide to the broad daylight. How did you figure it out? Too many things. The most disheartening time was on Valentine's Day. I took you to the ring store and said we should choose a pair of rings. You immediately said you were unwell and wanted to go home and rest right away. You didn't even want the ring. It can be seen that you have no intention of being with me for a long time. Let alone getting married. But I want to be with the girl I love for a long time. For a lifetime. I opened my lips. King you. I didn't know that he had thought so much in this relationship. Even his love. I had underestimated a great deal. He covered his face for a moment and then moved his hand away. Do you know why I was the first to break up? Because I was afraid that when you had no feelings for me at all and then left me, you would never come back. Maybe. If I broke up first, you wouldn't be ready and would be reluctant to part. Would be nostalgic. Ironically, it turns out that you don't have the slightest bit of nostalgia. Our relationship, like an old calendar page, was torn off by you. And you started a new life. Chad got up and came over, pressing his forehead against mine. Sizzy, shall we get back together? Open your heart and accept me. Okay? My mind was in chaos. Buzz. Buzz. My phone rang again. I mechanically picked it up and put it to my ear. Is Sizzy back? Yes. I mechanically hung up. Sorry. I'm very confused right now. He grabbed my hand again. Can I go back with you? I pulled my hand out and refused. 16 Another half year passed. I went to work step by step. Cherry was sent to an overseas company. Chad no longer showed up in my life. Just like that day. When he held my hand. It was his last attempt to keep me. But I let go. And we got lost in the sea of people. The Chen group also developed better and better. Occasionally, I could see him on TV. He was becoming more and more dazzling. I gently declined Leo. The boy had planted a thorn in my heart. Before it was pulled out. It would be unfair to anyone. But this thorn, with my flesh and blood as fertilizer, sent out thousands of sprouts, taking root and winding around. Until one day during the lunch break, I received a call from Cherry. Are you back? On Cherry's side. Her tone was very urgent. Zizzy. Where are you? Come to Renmin Road quickly. I was about to ask something when there was a noise over there and the call was already cut off. I hurried to Renmin Road and found her. What happened? Why so urgent? Nearby was the scene of a car accident. The two cars had collided horribly. There was a black car that I was even a bit familiar with. I had a very bad premonition. Cherry grabbed my hand at once. Her eyes were still wet. No good. Sizzy. Chad had a car accident on his way to pick me up. He lost a lot of blood. He might die. What? Under the strong sun. I suddenly felt weak. Which hospital is he in? He's in the 3rd hospital. Sizzy. Get in the car quickly and come with me. Okay. My feet weren't steady. And the hand that opened the car door had no strength. The road was particularly congested and the car couldn't pick up speed. Cherry picked up the ringing phone and cried. Sizzy. Auntie is calling. Could it be that Chad didn't survive the rescue? I felt my brain go blank. It surely wouldn't be. Auntie. Cherry. Are you and Sally here? How much longer? The traffic is too congested. Auntie. We still need a while. I snatched the phone and sobbed. Auntie. I'm Sally. Tell Chad that he must hold on. I have very important things to say to him. He must hold on. Okay. He will surely hold on. After hanging up the phone, I asked the driver to stop and immediately ran to the hospital. 17. Who are you to him? The doctor stopped me outside the door. I'm his ex-girlfriend. Doctor. Let me go in and see him. I have a lot to say to him. Go in quickly. The patient's vital signs are very weak. It depends on whether you can strengthen his willpower. I rushed to the bedside. Trembling all over. Chad was lying on the bed. His eyes closed. His face lacking blood color. Only the instruments beside him beating rapidly. My tears couldn't stop falling either. Chad. How are you? Wake up. Okay? Cherry said anxiously. Sizzy. If you have something to say, you must say it. Only in this way can you stimulate him. With tears in her eyes, Chad's mother handed over a brown wallet. Sizzy. This is his wallet. Open it and have a look. I opened it trembling and froze. There was still a 1-inch photo of me inside. Cherry. Auntie. I want to have a few words with him alone. Okay. We'll go out right away. In the terrifyingly quiet intensive care unit. I gently kissed Chad's pale lips. Chad. Do you still like me? If so. As long as you wake up. We'll get married. Do you know? Last week. I stopped in a daze when I passed by a wedding dress store. The wedding dress on the model was so beautiful. At that time, my mind was full of regrets. How nice it would be if we hadn't broken up. How nice it would be if you had proposed to me. Then I could wear it and marry you. Chad. How heartless I am. My broken and insecure heart has long been deceived away by you. Do you know how fast my heart beat when you smiled and said to me, "Long time no see"? I never expected that in my life. I had prayed for all kinds of exams to get good results. And prayed for the projects I was doing to be completed smoothly. But none of them was as fast as today, when I prayed for Chad to wake up quickly. when my hand was tightly held back. I was still sobbing with red-rimmed eyes. I was completely stunned. The person who was on the verge of death on the hospital bed just now was opening his eyes at this moment, staring at me deeply and grinning foolishly. Honey, where is that wedding dress store? Let's go choose the wedding dress right now. It took a full minute for me to react belatedly. Chad. Did you all deceive me together? At the door, Cherry and Chad's mother smiled knowingly. Chad immediately grasped my hand that I was about to shake off. Honey, I'm sorry. If I didn't do this, you would never agree to marry me. Tonight, I'll kneel on the washboard.